to this episode of the Reminger Report Podcast on emerging technologies. I'm Zach Pyers, and I'm happy and excited today to have Abigail Downs here as our guest. Uh, Abigail, if you would, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, hello. My name is Abigail Downs. I'm a rising 3L here at the Ohio State Moritz College of Law. And I am also, as Zach mentioned, a clerk here in the Columbus office at Reminger. And I'm excited to be here on the podcast today.
We are excited to have you. Now, one of the topics that you've um, decided to talk about and is artificial intelligence and mediation. And everybody knows, right, just from flipping through their news or scrolling through their news feed, that artificial intelligence has been all over the news. But if you could provide us a quick summary as it relates to artificial intelligence and mediation.
Sure. My research focuses on the potential roles of AI and how it can play into mediation. AI has the potential to enhance mediation by improving efficiency, organization, and neutrality. Its current limitations suggest that it should only be used as a tool at this point and not entirely replace human mediators. But I think the combination of AI's data processing capabilities with human empathy and experience can create a more effective mediation process.
So, when we talk about the topic of mediation and the use of artificial intelligence, how did you come to choose this topic?
Yeah, so I chose to explore the potential roles of AI in mediation from my firsthand experience with the mediation clinic at Ohio State. During mediations, I often encountered challenges that sparked my curiosity with how AI could help address these types of issues. My interest was further fueled with my involvement with Professor Amy Schmitz at Ohio State. She's starting this groundbreaking project to try to bridge the gaps in mediation by using AI technology.
Now, you talked a little bit about some of the things that we hope that AI will be able to accomplish as it relates to uh, in the mediation process. Tell us a little bit, kind of in your own words, what are the benefits of using AI now, um, based upon where we are with its development in the mediation process?
Yeah, I think the benefits of using AI are extensive, endless. AI has the ability to make mediation more efficient, neutral, and accessible in in multiple different ways. So during mediation, large amounts of information is shared, and it can be hard to keep organized or keep track of for just a regular mediator. And I think AI can excel at this by because it has analyzing and it's good at analyzing and processing information and keeping it organized for both parties. Human mediators often rely on memories and notes, and little details can be lost in the overall mediation. But AI can literally remember and transcribe every detail, and I think that would be important to help with the process. Another huge benefit of AI is the effectiveness that it can help with. Um, During the COVID pandemic, a lot of mediations went on Zoom instead of in person, and this kind of increased the accessibility. And I think using AI also is going to increase the accessibility of mediations by making it easier for people to not have to travel, making it time efficient, reducing the geographical constraints people have, and also expanding access to qualified mediators because you could have access to them, all around the world, and increasing like schedule flexibility. Another huge benefit that AI can offer is the potential to increase neutrality in mediation. So a lot of people have bias, like implicit biases that they don't realize, and that's one thing that AI could have. But the good thing with AI is that when there is a bias in AI, it can be trained, and it no longer will have that bias. There's algorithms that can be used to remove bad biased data sets, and then the AI is no longer biased. This is why
Yep.
AI has the potential to like revolutionize neutrality in mediation processes and even be a tool for mediators to use to help keep them on track if they in a situation where they could potentially be implicitly biased.
That's it's interesting you say that because I have a friend who is a professor in a college of business teaching graduate level students, and we had this conversation last fall about implicit bias in both algorithms and in artificial intelligence. And instinctively, a lot of his students, as he reported it to me, were against the use of algorithms and artificial intelligence to the extent that they both demonstrate some form of bias in them. And what he was explaining to me, and I thought this was really interesting, is that you're able to much faster recognize a bias in an algorithm or a artificial intelligence than you are in a human being, which means that you're able to correct the bias much faster because you recognize it faster, and then you're better at correcting it because you don't have a situation where you acknowledge it in another human and then the human pushes back and says, well, I'm not biased in that regard, because nobody wants to admit that they're biased. And so what he said was is that you're able actually to decrease the bias in the algorithm slash artificial intelligence platforms much easier and much more significantly, and you're able to find them faster. He goes, so really, we're able to get rid of the bias in those platforms and should trust them more than we do in the humans, and just trust the humans to be unbiased. So, I mean, by trade as a data scientist, I thought it was just an interesting take on his part, which echoes, I think, kind of what you were just saying.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But I found a lot of that when I was researching this topic. And I've also like looked at the implicit bias tests that you can do online. And it's hard to believe some of the implicit biases that we all have that we don't really even know we have.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Another great thing that I think AI could help with in mediation is drafting the settlement agreements at the end. A lot of times mediators draft their own settlements, and there could be a small error in the settlement agreement, but it can have a huge impact. And I think AI could draft these settlement agreements and not have little to no errors and fix those drafting errors that usually create problems afterwards.
You
Overall,
know,
I just, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I understand the issues, right? Because, when people are trying to get a memorandum of understanding or a mediation agreement finalized at the end of a mediation, sometimes it's, at the end of the day, it's 5 o'clock, sometimes it's later. And the last thing the parties really want to do, once they reach the agreement, they want to get out of there. And so I understand how there is a tendency, or can be, if you're not careful, to potentially make mistakes in the process.
Yeah, I think it happens more often than not when people are rushing to get out the door.
Yeah.
Uh, Overall, I think AI has the potential to provide significant benefits to mediation across various different aspects, from documentation to cost effectiveness, neutrality, language barriers, and aiding in drafting agreements. Using AI has the ability to enhance the overall mediation experience, and I think it would be a great tool for future mediators.
Now, what are some of the disadvantages that you can describe, or maybe even some of the problems that you see using AI currently in mediations?
Yeah, so I know I listed a bunch of benefits, but there's also the same length of limitations that AI has. These include ethical issues, legal issues, data privacy concerns, nonverbal language barriers, hallucinations, and a lot of human interactions complexities that it doesn't fully understand. So one significant limitation of AI is its dependency on data quality. And I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but if it is trained on biased data sets, it can increase socioeconomic, gender, and ethnic disparities, leading to more heightened discrimination. Most AI programs are unaware of this biased data sets until the problems arise. So at this point, it had to have had some form of discrimination issues against somebody for a little period of time before it's realized. Another issue is that it lacks emotional intelligence. And I know a lot of times mediations are very heightened emotionally experiences for people or parties in them. And AI struggles with relating to humans, relating to the parties emotionally compared to what a human mediator could do. AI also struggles with nonverbal communication. So during in-person mediations where people are in the same room, there's often gestures, cues, and nonverbal body language that people are using to communicate, and AI could never pick up on that because it's not in the room with you, like present. So human mediators are often more experienced in reading those cues. Data privacy is another huge concern with AI and mediation. That's because parties often share a lot of private and confidential information, and it's not entirely clear where that information goes when it's shared with AI. Another concern that I know is talked about a lot, and some attorneys have even gotten in trouble when using AI, is the hallucinations. Um, AI hallucinations occur when AI generates an output that is based on patterns that never existed. And I know, you've heard about attorneys using AI and it's creating these fake cases. Well, that's the concern also with like mediations. For example, in a mediation, if an AI were to hallucinate a critical piece of information, such as stating somebody falsely breached a contract or someone was unfaithful in a divorce, it could completely derail the mediation process because that misinformation could cause unnecessary conflict, distrust, emotional distress, and whatnot, and making it very hard to get a resolution. Um, so overall, the limitations for in using AI as a tool, there are a few, but I think with time and new AI models being trained, that there's a lot of growth that can come from using AI as a tool in mediation.
And kind of as we kind of wrap this up and kind of conclude, do you have any opinions about, when or if AI should be used in mediation to help to facilitate the process?
Yeah, I think at this point, AI could probably be used currently. I think that mediators could start using AI now to bridge a lot of the gaps in accessibility and with language barriers. It'd be nice to not even have to have a translator to be able to use the AI to be like translating at like you wouldn't have to rely on a person to translate. You could do it remotely or however. I think that there's a lot of opportunities with AI that can supply information on relevant laws and regulations, conduct specific searches like during the mediation, um, and generate transcripts for documentation that sometimes would be helpful. I think AI can alert mediators about optimal times to hold caucuses or take breaks, allowing the mediators to actually focus on facilitating open communication or adapting to the dynamics in the room. Overall, I just think that it would be a great use of AI in this like evolving technology world that we live in.
Great. Abigail, I really appreciate you taking the time today to speak with us and joining us on the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.